From the Mapleview Animal Hospital studios, this is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And we welcome you back to the WHTC Morning News for this Thursday, June 11th. Thursday mornings, we have a chance to chat with Republican Congressman Bill Huizenga. He's on the other end of our Zoom connection. Bill, good morning and welcome back to WHTC.
Good morning, Gary. Good to be with you.
Glad you are with us. And let's put it this way. Are we getting too used to all these remote connections because of the fact that, right now it's still limited sessions for Congress right now in the House, especially because of the concerns over COVID-19?
Yeah, well, Gary, when guys like you and I can master technology like Zoom and actually pull it off effortlessly, you know that society has shifted. That's for sure. But in all seriousness, what's happening around the country and what we've been dealing with, both with as far as the policing situation. The COVID situation, the economic situation. There's a lot of work that needs to be done wisely. The House has actually shifted our schedule once again, and rather than not going in until the very end of June, it was going to be June 30 and then July 1st and 2nd. We're going in a week early to deal with, or at least attempt to deal with some of these things. And it's probably going to be the policing bill that Speaker Pelosi is writing right now. But you look at the economic situation. I was just reading an article before coming in. Jerome Powell, Jay Powell, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, was talking about how we had been at a 50-year low in unemployment in every single category, every single demographic. We were at a 50-year low, and within a 2-month period, we have now gone to a 90-year high in unemployment. It's just been stunning, the speed with which the economy fell, and now, frankly, even as we're coming back in a much steeper manner than many people had predicted, meaning in a positive way, much quicker. We still have a long ways to go. So there's a lot of issues to be tackling, that's for sure.
Let me go quickly into the economic aspect. I read something a couple of days ago from a group that represents independent restaurateurs, saying if they have, like, say, I want to say $250 billion, they can be able to, they will pay for itself and more. So we're getting the special interest now starting to put the pressure on Congress to this next wave of COVID-19 help would be directed to them. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast, I think, in Washington.
Yeah, there is definitely discussion about an additional bill. It's not going to be the $3 trillion partisan bill that the House passed a couple of weeks ago. That is not how we deal with, whether it's COVID, whether it's the economy, or frankly, whether it's with the social strife that is going on. These have to be bipartisan solutions and bipartisan approaches. And so I hope people are able to set aside the politics here. And I understand it's an election year and all those things, but these things are way too important. Will there be another bill? Probably. What will it look like? We don't know yet. Like I said, it won't be the $3 trillion additional and on top of the $3 trillion that we've already spent grab bag. Will it be focused more towards some flexibility to states? Possibly. After the governors, and especially our governor here in Michigan, actually does with the billions of dollars that was sent to the state of Michigan, does what they were supposed to do with that money. But there will be something like that. There will be things focused at restaurants. Restaurants that have taken an especially brutal hit in this because the economics have been turned completely upside down. And think of your favorite restaurant in downtown Holland, and think about the square feet that they have, the number of tables that they have, the rent that they have to pay, and on top of the utilities. All of that now with a revenue stream that could be half if we're looking at half occupancy. That radically changes their economics without them doing anything wrong. And that's the kind of challenges that we're going to have ahead of us, trying to unravel those knots.
Speaking with Zeeland Congressman Bill Huizenga, you mentioned your term social strife, and certainly that has taken much of the attention away. If anything could take away attention from COVID-19, certainly the situation stemming from the death of George Floyd and the issues that have come up since that time. There have been round criticism of President Trump and his reactions, especially on Twitter, to some of the situations that have come up right now. Republicans, such as yourself, sometimes you have to face the questions. How do you stand by President Trump when he makes tweets such as that? Yes, he is an independent person and he can be able to speak his mind. But, sometimes when you are the president of the United States, it comes with some responsibilities. And there are some who are saying that he is not fulfilling his responsibility of leadership in some of his responses that have been insensitive in this current situation.
Well, certainly. Look, I'm my own person, and I speak for Bill Huizenga, and having me answer for every single one of Donald Trump's tweets is like expecting every Democrat to agree with and adhere to Joe Biden's statements, including his, if you ain't black if you don't vote for me, which is ridiculous, right? So what we do know is we need more healing. We need more people coming together and communicating. That's one thing that West Michigan does very, very well. And this isn't the first time, Gary, that we've talked about. I wish he would take a different tone, different tenor, different statements on those things. So that is then up to others to do that healing as well, other elected officials, and to call for the better nature of all of us. And so I'll continue to do that. This is a very challenging time. There is no doubt. Again, being a student of history here, people have said, it's never been like this. We've never been this divided. We've been way more divided. Anyone that had lived through the Vietnam War era, not to mention the true civil rights struggle that had happened back during the Jim Crow era. Then you go back, we actually had a war, a civil war over disagreements that were among the states, and this republic still survives. It's the healthiest, most robust, most representative form of government that mankind has ever seen. And the radical elements that are trying to deny that are not the mainstream voices. Those are not the folks that are showing up in solidarity most folks are showing up in solidarity with equality, freedom, the ability to be treated with respect and really have a level playing field in society. That is the most noble side of where we are going. When you see the radical side talking about the downfall of capitalism and how this needs to go away and how we need to defund the police departments and which is, by the way, that gets replaced with either vigilantes who are deciding what is right and what's wrong, or anarchy. Neither one of those things is right. We need to have a society that is well balanced. So the challenging time, we all need to be stepping up.
All right. Tough question. I don't know if you can answer this, Bill. Who can emerge? What type of person can emerge to maybe stop this pendulum that is swinging back and forth in the political spectrum? Stop it and maybe move forward. Compromise, that's not a great word for some people, but at least find a middle road that we might not all agree with, but I would think we can all live with. I don't know whether or not we can see a leader on the horizon that could possibly sort of stop the pendulum between one side and the other side.
Well, Gary, here's part of the issue, is there is no one person. All right, it doesn't matter who that is. Well, actually, there was one a little over 2,000 years ago, and he's going to come back at some point, but he's not ready to come back that I know of, at least of today. Maybe, but in all seriousness, the situation cannot be solved by the federal government. It cannot be solved by the state government. It is solved by us, citizens in our own communities, who are going to take part in the discussions that are sometimes very uncomfortable, that are going to try to figure out how do we have a path forward. So, this is not one leader that's going to come forward and emerge. I mean, look, it wasn't Barack Obama, it wasn't George W. Bush, it wasn't Bill Clinton. We have not had someone that has been as much of a unifier. I mean, I guess the closest that you could come to is Ronald Reagan in 1984 being reelected with the support of 49 of the 50 states around the country. That was probably the most consensus that the country had in a presidential election in the modern era. Because before that, and you know your history. Jimmy Carter was one term. You had Gerald Ford for 2 years. You had before that, you had Richard Nixon, who had taken it away from Lyndon Johnson, after the assassination. So, I mean, we've had a lot of turmoil and strife in those national leaders. Same thing with those state leaders. It has to be us. It has to be, the city councils and the mayors and the counties and not just elected officials, community leaders, business leaders that are going to be coming together. So, the real secret sauce in the American way is that it's not just dependent on somebody else in some foreign or distant city that's going to help this. It's us.
One final thing, Bill Huizenga, and I'm going to quote a wire service story and then phrase the question. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is blocking a resolution against defunding police departments. The Republican resolution calls for justice for George Floyd, but also puts the Senate on record as being against defunding police departments. Senator Schumer, the Democrat from New York, says the resolution will do nothing and is just rhetoric, saying Americans want to see real action in response to Floyd's death. So, what federal support would you like to see for police reform?
Well, certainly we have seen a number of those things be proposed. Some of them that we're sort of trying to sort through right now make a lot of sense. Barring chokeholds, having some sort of national standard of certain techniques and that kind of thing makes some sense. Now, when I and my team are talking to those in law enforcement, those affected by law enforcement, what the main focus has been is in training, then has been in that being a key part of what we're going to need to be doing. Transparency. How do we make sure that bad apples and bad actors don't remain in that profession? And then at the end of the day, termination. How do we make sure that training and that transparency about what's going on, and then the ability to terminate these folks and get them out of this business that they should not be in? How do we do that? And that is going to be a key. Sorry, Gary, alarm going off.
That's all right.
That is going to be a key part of how I think we move forward. But we have to do this in a bipartisan manner. This cannot just become a political football. And the Senate, when we go back to Washington in a week and we're dealing with this police reform bill, it better be open. It better be open to amendments. It cannot be a one-sided bill that was just written by one party. And frankly, because you've got the Ocasio-Cortezes of the world who want to have an amendment to defund all police. And then you've got, which I think is a huge mistake, but then you've got others that have been prosecutors and police officers and sheriffs and others that are in Congress that have some very good ideas as well about how to best take care of this problem. So a lot of work ahead.
He is Zeeland Congressman Bill Huizenga. He joins us Thursday mornings to talk about some of the issues of the day on the WHTC Morning News. As always, Bill, we appreciate the time that you spend with us. We appreciate your thoughts. Wish you and the family well in the upcoming week. And if all goes well, let's do this again next Thursday morning, shall we?
Sounds great. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you very much. That is Zeeland Congressman Bill Huizenga on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.